In this segment, we're going to work a couple problems using Excel. So we're going to start in the book with study problem 8-2. It says, the preferred stock of Armlow pays $2.75 a dividend. What is the value of the stock if your required return is 9%? Okay, so let's go back and look at our notes. We see that to calculate the value of a preferred share of stock, it's a perpetuity. So the value is equal to the dividend divided by the required rate of return. So this should be relatively straightforward. Price is equal to dividend divided by the required rate of return. So our equation will be, we need to calculate what? 2.75 dividend. Dividend divided by the required rate of return. Remember, always use decimals, 0.09%. And the expected price would be, or the value would be $30.55. I'll just show that to you here. Okay, so it's relatively straightforward. Just plug in the formula. There's nothing special about this. Remember, it's the preferred stock, so the dividend will be constant over the period, and the rate of return is the required rate of return. Let's look at the problem 8-5. Another preferred stock valuation. Calculate the value of a preferred stock that pays a dividend of $6 a share if your required rate of return is 12%. Well, we're just going to go back in here and use the same formula. It's $6 a share, and we have a required rate of return of 12%, 0.12, again decimal, $50 a share. Okay. I'll copy that down. Oops, what did I do? Lost it. Got too fancy. I still can't get it. There we go. All right, so that was relatively straightforward. Now we're going to look at some common stock. Okay, we're going to get a little trickier now. Let's look at 8-11. Bates Inc. pays a dividend of $1 and is currently selling for $32.50. If investors require a 12% return on their investment from buying Bates stock, what growth rate would Bates Inc. have to provide the investors? All right, growth rate. Well, we can look at a couple things. We can look at this, right? This kind of equation. We've got the price is equal to D1 over R minus G. Solve for G. Yeah, that would work, but why don't we just turn to this one and take a look that for common stock, the required expected rate of return is the yield plus the growth rate. Right? Well, we know the dividend, we know the price, so we can get the yield. We know the expected rate of return, or in this case, the required rate of return, and we can solve for G. So we're just going to take this part here, the dividend yield part, and subtract it from R, and we get G. So now let's do that in Excel. Okay, so let's see how to do that in Excel. We have up here the equation that we had. The required rate of return, or in this case, the expected rate of return, is the dividend divided by the price plus the growth rate. Again, we want to find the growth rate. So we can take this term here, subtract it from R, and we get just G. So we rewrite it as R minus this thing is equal to growth rate. And this thing, recall, is just the yield on a stock. It's just the yield. So what's the required growth rate we need? equal to, let's see, the expected rate of return, or the required rate of return is 0.12, again, decimals, minus the yield. Yield is the dividend. Always the dividend is going to be the next dividend, $1, divided by the price, which is $32.50. And we get expected growth rate of 8.92%. Right, so that's the equation. Again, you're going to get problems that will say, here's what the dividend yield is. And you have to remember that that's the dividend divided by the price. You're going to be asked what growth rate is required. What's the expected rate of return? In this case, you could say, what's the yield, right? I could calculate that as well. So you need to be able to solve for any one of these. All right, let's do another one for common stock. Okay, let's look at a problem that's a little more fun and kind of puts a lot of things together. Look at 8-16. The common stock of NCP paid $1.32 in dividends last year. Dividends are expected to grow at 8% annual rate for an indefinite number of years. So I put that in here in the gold area or yellow area. You'll see the dividends and the growth rate. Remember, growth rate as a decimal. Part A, if NCP's current market price is $23.50 per share, what is the stock's expected rate of return? Rate of return. So we do R. So I put in there the current price, $23.50. Remember here we have the expected rate of return is the yield divided by, plus the growth rate. Right? So it's the percent we're getting in dividends, plus we know there's going to be some growth. That would be my expected rate of return. So, and remember, yield is just the dividend divided by the price. So let's calculate that. It's equal to, please remember to use parentheses because you can get messed up. Divided by the price. This one, it might work out, but that doesn't mean it doesn't. It's going to always work that way. Okay, so there we have it. And let's see what we got. 13.61%. Now, when we do this, again, it's a good idea to eyeball it. If you get a number like 50% or 0% or something like that, you probably made a mistake someplace. I find that that's one thing that will help people a lot. If you just kind of eyeball it and say, does this make sense? It'll make a big difference. All right, so there's our answer to part A. Let's take a look at B. Now my required rate of return is 10.5%. I put that in the gold area. What is the value of the stock to you? The value of the stock. Well, I have that down here. The price or the value of the stock. I'm sorry that I hope I'm not messing you up, but to me it's always, what's the price? And because that is the value. The book, they use the V. The price is equal to the dividend divided by the required rate of return minus the growth rate. Okay, well, we've got all that. Equals, what do we got? The dividend. And you notice I named the cells. Hopefully you can see the value in naming the cells. Right? When you put this formula in, you can understand it. You can come back and look at it and say, what the heck did I do? And you'll know. Here, it's really important to do the parentheses. You don't do the parentheses, you are absolutely going to get this one wrong. So it's the required rate of return minus the growth rate. And the price would be this. Okay. Now, I can show you briefly, if you get rid of these parentheses, what happens. Right, so 52 made kind of a little bit of sense. Let's get rid of the parentheses. Get 12. That doesn't make any sense when the current price is 23, right? So we know something's off. Now, so here's what it said. What is the value of the stock to you? The value of the stock to you is, because you've got your required rate of return, $52. Okay. What is the current price? $23. Should you buy the stock? Absolutely, right? The value to you is $52.80, sorry, and the price is $23. Buy, buy, buy. You pay $23 and you're getting $52 in value. Similarly, if it went the other way around, you would, if you calculated the value to be $12, you'd say, oh, it's overpriced. I'm not going to pay for it. You can also do the same thing with the required rate of return. If your required rate of return is greater than what the stock's rate of return is, you will want to, if your required rate of return is greater than the stock's return yield, you won't buy it. Otherwise, you will. All right. Hope this helped. Do problems. The more you do, the better you're going to get. You have to just keep at this stuff. Got questions? Send me an email.